Ever since I hooked up with the great Heisenberg, I have nothing! No one!
Ever wonder how Walter White got Jesse Pinkman to do his dirty work in Breaking Bad? It's more than just intimidation, it's masterful manipulation. Their relationship is complex. One minute they're partners, the next they're at each other's throats. But through it all, Walt expertly pulls Jesse's strings, using him to build his meth empire. But here's the big question. Does Walt genuinely care about Jesse, or is he just another tool in his quest for power? Now we're going to uncover the psychological strategies Walt employs to control Jesse, revealing a fascinating and disturbing dynamic. So get ready to uncover the disturbing truth about Walter and Jesse's bond.
What are you doing, man? You asshole! You told him my name. What's that to him?
My name, where I work, you told him about my son?
Don't touch me!
Damn junkie!
No, give me that!
To really understand how Jesse becomes so easily manipulated, we need to take a step back in time and look at his earlier years. We see glimpses of his childhood, a strained relationship with his parents who seem more focused on his successful young brother, and a distinct lack of emotional support. He's searching for connection and meaning, and this is where attachment theory really becomes crucial. It suggests that our early relationships with caregivers profoundly shape how we connect with others throughout our lives. In one episode, we watch Jesse stay in the house of his estranged parents as he tries to rekindle this relationship with his younger and overachieving brother Jake, who is a reflection of Jesse before he was corrupted by drugs. A maid later discovers a marijuana joint in Jesse's bedroom, and Jesse's disappointed parents quickly kick him out of the house. The joint is revealed to belong to Jake, and Jesse covers for him by taking the blame. In Jesse's case, his yearning for love and acceptance, coupled with the lack of secure attachments in his family, likely led to the development of an anxious, preoccupied attachment style. This means he craves closeness and validation, but he also fears abandonment and may even subconsciously seek out unhealthy, volatile relationships that mirror the emotional dynamics he experienced early on. Through the seasons, we see his sensitivity towards other children, the childlike qualities he has, and a temperament that predisposes him to guilt.
Brock is almost 6. You okay with kids?
What?
Yeah, he's cool.
Jesse feels inferiority, that he's never been properly respected, despite the work he puts into things, and this is compounded and amplified by Walt. He's made mistakes, some of them very bad, but someone like Jesse needs warmth, guidance, and acknowledgement. And Walt was only ever able to provide that in small doses that were overpowered by his criticism and coldness.
Why are you blue?
Ugh. Long story, let's just say it starts with my parents being greedy, kleptomaniac douchebags.
Are you actually this stupid?
And this brings us to the codependency. Jesse consistently puts others' needs before his own, even when it's clearly detrimental to his well-being. He's fiercely loyal, sometimes to a fault, and he'll go to extraordinary lengths to please people, especially those who offer even just a crumb of affection or approval. And this is shown in season 4 when Gus and Mike take Jesse on their errands, and Gus tells Jesse,
Excuse me. Why me?
I like to think I see things in people.
this is all Jesse needs to hear, regardless of being true or not, to offer him loyalty. Now think about how he cares for the young boy in the meth house. In this episode where he must get product back from a junkie couple and he finds their young son neglected in the house. Jesse plays peekaboo with him, makes him food and tries to look after him. He leaves the scene for the young boy to be found by the police in the hope of giving him a better life. He says, you "You have a good rest of your life, kid." Or his desperate attempts to win Jane's father's approval. This deep-seated need to be someone's savior, makes him incredibly vulnerable to manipulation. Jesse is conflicted by both care and hate for Walter. Earlier on in the series, after being beat up by Hank, Jesse goes on a verbal rampage, stating that his life has turned to shit ever since he teamed up with Walt.
I want nothing to do with you. Ever since I met you, everything I have ever cared about is gone.
And he's right. But even though he hated Walt for all the evil things he did, after everything they went through together, he can't look at him without feeling complete loathing. And it's important to remember that manipulators are like predators. They're experts at sniffing out those who are eager to please and afraid to set boundaries. They see those individuals as prime targets for exploitation. Now let's turn our attention to the master manipulator himself, Walter White. On the surface, he's this mild-mannered chemistry teacher, right? The guy you'd never suspect of cooking meth and building a drug empire. But underneath this facade lies a clever puppet master with a very specific and very dangerous set of personality traits and tactics. Walter understands that to manipulate others, he needs to spin believable lies. He understands that the best lies are those based on and in some aspects of truth. Walt's clever enough to understand that if the story he tells is not able to be proven or highly questionable, then his lies will easily fall apart. But if big chunks of his stories are based on reality that can be proven, then the missing links in his stories are harder to disprove. In this scene, Walter confesses to something much smaller, buying pot from Jesse, which keeps Skylar away from the idea he's a manufacturer and dealer of meth with him. He's confessing to a smaller act, but it's still drug-related, which is in line with what Skylar already knows about Jesse. And Walter uses these same tactics with Jesse too.
Jesse, will you let me help you? I don't like to see you hurting like this.
He uses his lies to manipulate everyone around him, ultimately to get what he wants, when he wants it. Walter exhibits a textbook case of narcissistic personality disorder. He has a grandiose sense of self-importance, a constant need for admiration, and a shocking lack of empathy. He sees Jesse not as a partner, sometimes not even as a person, but as a pawn in his elaborate game, someone to be used and discarded as he sees fit. Walter's building an empire, and in his mind, casualties are inevitable. And at one point in Breaking Bad, Walter needs Jesse gone. And as much as part of Walter still cares for Jesse, he cares more for himself. If it came to a point he had to kill Jesse, he would have. One of the most potent weapons Walter uses to keep Jesse in line is gaslighting. Remember that agonizing scene where Jesse starts to suspect that Walt poisoned Brock? Walt, with his chillingly calm demeanor, twists the entire situation, making Jesse doubt his own memory and his sanity. He plants those seeds of doubt, subtly shifts the blame towards Gus Fring, and manipulates Jesse into believing a completely false narrative. This gaslighting leaves Jesse feeling utterly confused and vulnerable and completely dependent on Walt for any sense of reality. It's a power move that breaks down Jesse's already fragile sense of self.
Oh, God.
Wait, just, no, Jesse, it's me, it's Walt,
But Walt's manipulation goes far beyond gaslighting. He's a strategist, and he meticulously exploits Jesse's weaknesses. He knows Jesse craves approval and a sense of belonging, so he dangles it like a carrot, offering praise and encouragement only when Jesse falls in line. He preys on Jesse's guilt, especially after Jane's death, subtly reinforcing the idea that Jesse owes him. And he constantly plays on Jesse's loyalty, hammering home the idea of their partnership, even though it's a partnership in name only. Walt is the one calling the shots, pulling the strings and manipulating Jesse like a puppet. Walter lies, deceives, manipulates, gaslights, leverages, and coerces over the course of 5 seasons of Breaking Bad. Now imagine being trapped in a cycle of abuse where the highs are incredibly high and the lows are devastatingly low.
I watched Jane die. I watched her overdose and choke to death. I could have saved her, but I didn't.
That's Jesse's reality with Walter. This is where we see the sinister power of what's called trauma bonding. Walter expertly uses what we call intermittent reinforcement. He alternates between abuse and threats and acts of cruelty with moments of approval and support, or even what appears to be genuine affection. This creates a powerful, addictive dynamic. Jesse clings to those rare moments of positivity, hoping for more, even as the abuse escalates. It's like gambling. You keep playing, hoping for that big win, even though you keep losing. This constant cycle of abuse and intermittent reinforcement leads to learned helplessness. Jesse starts to believe that he has no control over a situation. He feels powerless to escape Walt's grasp, even when he desperately wants to. He's been conditioned to believe that he needs Walt, that he's incapable of surviving on his own. And then there's cognitive dissonance. Jesse experiences this internal conflict as he tries to reconcile his loyalty to Walt with the undeniable reality of the abuse.
I don't know what's wrong with me, Mr. White. I don't know how I could be so stupid.
Stop that now. Come on. Come on. Come on.
He wants to believe that Walt cares about him, that their partnership is real. But deep down, he knows he's being used and manipulated. This creates this immense psychological distress, and it further traps Jesse in this toxic dynamic.
Just tell me you don't give a shit about me, and it's either this, or you'll kill me the same way you killed Mike.
It's easy to focus on Walter White, but he's not the only one pulling Jesse's strings. Jesse's vulnerability makes him a target for other manipulators in his life, even with their own motives and tactics. Take Gustavo Fring, or Gus, for example.
You say, muchas gracias a usted, señor.
Don Eladio, ese es un adicto. Para trabajar tiene que estar sobrio.
He's the calm, collected kingpin, the antithesis of Walt's volatile nature. Gus recognizes Jesse's potential and his growing disillusionment with Walt. He offers Jess a sense of purpose and belonging, a place in his well-structured organization. He strokes Jesse's ego, giving him responsibilities and making him feel valued. But it's all a calculated move to gain leverage over Walt and ultimately replace him. Gus exploits Jesse's desire for stability and a father figure mirroring, in a way, the manipulation that Jesse experiences with Walt. Then there's Hank Schrader, Walt's DEA agent brother-in-law. Hank, despite his good intentions, also manipulates Jesse. He uses emotional appeals, reminding Jesse of the danger he's in and the harm he's causing. He plays on Jesse's guilt, urging him to do the right thing, and becomes an informant. While Hank genuinely wants to bring down Walt, he also uses Jesse as a means to an end, putting him in harm's way and exploiting his vulnerability. And we can't forget the broader context, the drug world itself. It's a breeding ground for manipulation. Dealers, users, Even those on the sidelines are constantly engaged in power struggles, using deception and exploitation to get what they want. Jesse, with his history of trauma and his desperate need for connection, is ill-equipped to navigate this treacherous landscape. He becomes a pawn in a much larger game, manipulated by not just individuals, but by the very system he's trapped in.
If I gave you that money, you would be dead inside of a week.
Now, we've seen how Jesse's past and personality make him vulnerable, and how Walt expertly exploits these weaknesses. But Walt's manipulation goes beyond just clever tactics. There's a darker element to his personality. This is where the concept of Machiavellianism comes into play. It's a personality trait characterized by a cynical worldview, a disregard for morality, and a focus on manipulating others for personal gain. Now, does that sound like anyone we know? Walter White embodies Machiavellianism to a T. He's willing to lie and to cheat and even harm others to achieve his goals. And he sees Jesse as just another tool in his arsenal. He's playing a high-stakes game, and he has no qualms about sacrificing others to win. Now, it would be easy to watch Breaking Bad and see Jesse as just a victim, a tragic figure caught in a web of manipulation. But that wouldn't be the whole story, would it?
Well, I don't know about you, but I, for one, could use a beer. You have any?
Jesse's journey is also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Think about what he endures, unimaginable horrors. He witnesses death. He's forced to commit violence. He battles addiction. And he's constantly being manipulated and gaslighted by the people he trusts. Yet despite all of this, he never completely loses his humanity. He shows compassion. He seeks redemption. And ultimately, he escapes Walt's control. This speaks to the possibility of post-traumatic growth. It's this remarkable phenomenon where individuals, after experiencing incredibly challenging events, find strength and meaning in the aftermath of adversity. They may be scarred, yes, but they emerge from the fire transformed. They find new perspectives, new priorities, and a newfound appreciation for life. Of course, this kind of growth doesn't happen overnight, and it's not easy. For someone like Jesse, therapy would be absolutely essential. Imagine how him sitting down with a skilled therapist, someone who can provide a safe place for him to process his trauma, address his codependency, and rebuild his shattered self-esteem. Therapy could help him understand the patterns of the past, recognize his own vulnerabilities, and learn how to create a better future for himself. It's about giving him the tools to heal and empowering him to break free from those destructive cycles. And that's where hope lies. Jesse's journey, though incredibly painful, shows us that even in the darkest of circumstances, healing is possible. He may be scarred, but he's not broken. He has the capacity to find healthy relationships, build a fulfilling life, and finally break free from the manipulation and abuse. He just needs the right support and the courage to take that first step.